I am in a couple of minutes' time, though, about to tell you about some remarkable Harry and William news that has just landed. We'll get a bit more detail on that, and then I'll bring it to you. But first, Meghan Markle has found another use for her global spotlight. She's promoting designer brands. Well, the runaway royal turned QVC saleswoman has invested in a handbag brand called Sesta Collective, using her recent trip to Colombia to flaunt one of her 568 quid purses. The recent investment comes after her own brand, American Riviera Orchard, ran into trademark issues. Look, speaking to the New York Times, she said this fantastic quote. It says, times where I know there's a global spotlight and attention will be given to each detail of what I may or may not be wearing. Then I support designers that have really great friendships with, or smaller up-and-coming brands that haven't gotten the attention they should be getting. That's one of the most powerful things that I'm able to do. And that's simply wearing, like, an earring. Well, joining me in the studio now to go into more detail, this is the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, thank you very, very much. Should Meghan be allowed to be using her royal titles in order to make money from things like fashion brands, etc.?
Well, this is exactly why the Queen said you can't be half in, half out, because she probably foresaw problems like this coming down the line. Because the problem isn't so much her using her fame and her royal associations to promote a brand, because actually Catherine does do that. She promoted Catherine Zoriada's earrings and made Catherine Zoriada an overnight hit. But the problem is Meghan using that word, the global stage, because Meghan's used her connections to the royal family to create pseudo-royal tours, and on the royal tours promote handbags that she's invested in. And that's where it's really complicated, because she's meeting the Vice President of Colombia wearing a handbag that she's invested in. And previously she's worn this Sesta handbag brand for lunch with Cameron Diaz, where she got papped in California. I think that's also OK, because she's just being papped in California, possibly on purpose. But when you're presenting to Colombia your association with the royal family and with Britain on the world stage, and also flogging a handbag, QVC style, that's where it's just embarrassing.
It's Kim Kardashian style. So it's influencer style, isn't it? So when she was not arguably helping to prop up some quite despotic regimes like Nigeria and Colombia, where there's big controversies there, she's now essentially a brand ambassador, an influencer.
She's always been an influencer, to be fair to Meghan. She was an influencer before she met Harry. But what she's doing now, which is slightly ambiguous, is she's saying, well, I'm only promoting sort of brands with a women focus or good well-being focus. You know, this is a brand made in Africa. So she's kind of trying to be altruistic. But it's actually kind of painting a confusing picture, because the Kardashians are just really open. They're just like, we are flogging ourselves. Please give us money for stuff. Whereas Meghan's like, well, actually, you know, I'm an extended member of the royal family. I'm a duchess. This is, you know, that's where it's too confusing. And there is an association with the British royal family.
Right, well, we can now get you some breaking news, and this is just landing to us as of a few minutes ago. The Mirror is reporting that Prince Harry and Prince William secretly reunited at his uncle's funeral after the Duke made a secret visit to the UK. So Harry reportedly flew from his US home to join William at the service for Lord Robert Fellows, reuniting with his brother and, of course, the future king, Prince William. Well, it's huge news coming after the Daily Mail's diary editor Richard Eden revealed that sources told him that Harry's decision not to give any interviews for the paperback relaunch of Spare proves that the Duke is desperate for royal reconciliation. Well, Charlotte, at face value, this looks like, oh, OK, well, maybe they actually did reconcile, but actually, it's not necessarily the truth, is it?
I don't think William and Harry spoke to each other at this funeral, but it's a really big deal that they were in the same room, they're in the same county, they're in Norfolk together for this funeral. And Lady Jane Fellows is obviously Diana's sister, so it was quite likely Harry was going to come, but it's somehow still quite surprising, because the war between them is so intense that there was some talk before the funeral that actually Harry wouldn't come in case it overshadowed the funeral. But they've managed to do it undercover. I mean, it's the first we've heard of it, so that's pretty brilliant.
I suppose, look, hey, good for him, right? I mean, he obviously felt strongly enough about this that he wanted to go and, in his mind, do the right thing. They kept it completely under wraps. So, in that sense, good for him. The other side of it, I will point out, is, you know, for all of this fanfare about him not necessarily being safe in the UK and the gaze of the publicity, I mean, he has just proven that he basically can come and go from the UK without anyone noticing quite easily.
Yes, because you would have thought he'd be flanked by his normally huge security detail. He can't go anywhere with all the security he needs because he's always in danger. So, obviously, he wasn't, flanked by a cavalcade on this occasion because he slipped in and out. But it does go well with what Richard Eden was saying in the Daily Mail, was there's a lot of mood music at the moment that he is trying to extend an olive branch or not step on any landmines. The fact that he didn't publish any additional information in his book is actually quite a big deal, because he could have used this as an opportunity to throw more mud, basically, at the royal family, and everyone was expecting him to, and probably even he was expected to when he signed that deal with the book publishers, who have been pushing him to write another chapter. It's really important to publishers that he does, but he didn't. And so, the mood music we're hearing is that he is trying at last to make amends.
Well, that is interesting. So one eyewitness at this funeral has told the Mirror, "We never saw them speak to each other and they kept their distance." So, that's where it is. But I suppose at least they were in the same room, as you were saying, and that is maybe a step towards some progress. I mean, it would be absolutely remarkable, though, wouldn't it? I mean, I don't know how that happens. How on earth could there be Why would Harry, do you think, be desperate for a royal reconciliation? How could he possibly do that and square it with Meghan?
Well, that's the thing. He is stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he's got William, who's actually a very stubborn character, and Meghan, who's, well, basically also a very stubborn character, and he is kind of caught in the middle of these great forces in his life. I think Charles is softening and, open to the idea of a reconciliation. But I think Harry, he's potentially, the novelty's worn off a bit, He's realised he's quite isolated over there. He hasn't spoken to some of his friends for years, and he needs to find a way to get back into the royal family and, not letting off huge landmines by writing rude things about them in a book is somewhere to start. And it could be a great many years before he even thinks of coming over here or reconciling, but it's got to start somewhere, hasn't it?
I wonder if William knew. That would be an interesting subplot to all of this, wouldn't it? If Harry just emerged through the back of the church doors, we'll have to wait and see.
I think it's likely William knew.
William, he knows everything. All right, so, well, look, thank you very, very much, and thank you for enlightening us a bit more as well with that breaking news. Harry and William have at least been in the same room at the same time for the first time in quite a while. But back to Patrick Christie's tonight, I am holding in my hands the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages, so let's do it. The Metro, we're going to start with. Pubs fury at Starmer's outdoor clampdown stub out this cigs ban plan, they say. The Independent, Starmer's smoking ban plan has pubs and clubs fuming, banning smoking in pub gardens, outside restaurants. Sports grounds will mean closures and job cuts, says the hospitality industry. The PM, though, says we've got to take action to reduce the huge burden smokers put on the NHS. Can I just say he's going to have to start proving this huge burden at some point, by the way. But anyway, the Daily...
That's after he's taken you on in the triathlon.
That's after he's taken me on a triathlon. The Daily Express. Has Sir Keir sounded death knell for our pubs, with a picture of Nigel Farage having a pint and a fag outside a pub today. It's nanny statism, says The Express. Let's go to The Guardian. Gosh, this is remarkable. Starmer risks clash with pub firms over plan for outdoor smoking ban. They say that it could do serious economic harm. The Guardian also goes off on EU working on fresh mobility plan for the UK. So they knock on the story of the last couple of days a bit. So this is the latest development in our EU reset. It says EU member states are working on an updated proposal for a youth mobility scheme with Britain after an earlier paper by the European Commission was rejected out of hand by Labour in April. So they are working on it. It's happening, right? So there we go. Let's go to the front of the Telegraph. Workers to get the right to demand a 4-day week. So the Tories warn of compressed hours, plan for staff to leave businesses petrified. Let me go into a bit of detail on this and then we'll discuss. So it says workers are to be given new rights to demand a 4-day week in a law planned for this autumn, which is nowish, isn't it, soon, next couple of months. The Telegraph understands the system of compressed hours, which lets an employee work their contracted week's hours in 4 days rather than 5, will be included in the package of new workers' rights. It will form part of a law being championed by Angela Rayner, the Deputy PM, in close consultation with the trade unions as well as businesses. Right, OK, Nana, good idea or not? 4-day week.
Well, this has just come from people who only really work 9 to 5, who don't really understand anything. It feels like a really old-fashioned, backdated policy that has obviously been created by civil servants because they do normal 9 to 5s. And I remember Jacob Rees-Mogg trying to get a lot of them back into the office. They didn't want to do that. Obviously, some employers, I think they have to offer a level of flexibility, but it was not enshrined in law. But this will mean that an employer now has the control. I just think that the Labour government are putting together things that will completely destroy growth in the economy in every way, shape and form. The cigarette ban, if they go with that, or the thing not smoking outside, destroying the outdoor industry and the pub industry. This will destroy employment industries because employers will not want to take on employees. Why would you want to take somebody on who can demand that, oh no, I have to work 4 days? That's not even reasonable.
This is Angela Rayner's brainchild.
Ridiculous.
There's a couple of things I'd say. Firstly, Britain has had a very, very long-standing poor level of efficiency, of productivity, and this will do nothing to change that. And if this is a government serious about growth, they have to look at our productivity. I cannot believe the Deputy Prime Minister got this past the Chancellor. If this Chancellor is serious about growth, if she wants to be taken serious in any way by businesses, she simply can't do this. And when that article talks about the businesses they've been working with, I'd be very interested to hear which business sectors or individual business people they've been working with who said a 4-day week is a good idea for their business. Because for most businesses, that spells death. And the most important thing, Labour always claim to be for the working man or woman, working class people, blue-collar people. There's a lot of blue-collar jobs where that simply will not float. Yeah. So those people will lose their jobs, or those jobs will be given to a completely different country. How are Labour squaring that with their supposed history?
All right, OK, Matthew, do you want to come back to that? I mean, the key line, one of the key lines for me in this is that it's apparently been drawn up in consultation with the unions. The other aspect of this is that this appears to be Angela Rayner's baby. Starmer's got to give her something. Is this it?
No, I mean, look, there's a key problem with the Telegraph article, which is it says the workers have the right to demand a 4-day week. That's not true. It is will be to request a 4-day week. So two things.
You can do that anyway.
Let me finish. We're not talking about people doing fewer hours. We're talking about some people who may wish to do the same number of hours over a fewer number of days, i.e. doing a very long days. Frankly, in the industry we work in, people tend to work 10 or 12-hour days and do fewer of them per week. So, it's that sort of, and they would have the right to ask for that. And if an employer doesn't think it will work for their business, the employer can say no.